going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of the MEAC More here on the HBCU Sports YouTube and Facebook pages. I'm Chris Stevens, the host of this particular program. As you can see, even though I am still very much heartbroken that Delaware State could not complete the Cinderella story completely, it's still MEAC versus everybody. Well, in this case, just the SWAC this week because that's who we're facing. South Carolina State versus Prairie View in the annual Cricket Celebration Bowl that'll be taking place Saturday, December 13th at 12 noon on ABC. We're still figuring out if we're going to do a live watch party like we've done the previous couple of years. I mean, we've had boots on the ground in Atlanta previous years, but this year we've just, fell on some struggles financially, and we'll probably end up doing a watch party in the interim. But if you would like to donate and help us get back on an even keel, we do have Zelle. You can go to the Zelle app, type in donate at hbcusports.com. We also have Cash App. You can type in $ HBCU Sports on the Cash App, or you can go to the website, hbcusports.com/donate. Also, if you would like to drop a super chat while we are on the air today, it can be $1, $2, $5, or if you're balling like Mackenzie Scott, $25 million. She just gave $25 million to Lincoln University. Mackenzie Scott, man, I tell you, she is doing the Lord's work. And this is coming from an agnostic person. I don't subscribe to any particular God or religion in particular, but Mackenzie Scott is doing the Lord's work. Make no mistake about it. Very grateful for her philanthropy. And again, as I've said before, where are the black people with all the money? Knowing that our schools are struggling. We got some black millionaires out there. We got a couple of black billionaires out there. So there's no way a white woman that was divorced from Jeff Bezos should be out donating, y'all. That's my take on the matter. But but that's another story for another day. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the program. As usual, the MEAC More is sponsored by Rock Solid Contracting and Development out of Wilmington, Delaware. Rock Solid Contracting and Development handles all your construction, demolition, and remediation needs. If you need something built, they can do it. If you need something torn down, they can do it. If you've already got something in place and you need something, fixed, they can do that as well. Be sure to check out rocksolidworks.net. And again, this program, Rock Solid, is a sponsor of the program. Norman Oliver, a Delaware State alum, HBCU grad, and an all-around great guy. Definitely thank him for sponsoring our program throughout the duration of the academic and athletic year 2025-2026. And I'm going to do something different this week. I'm actually going to lead the program with my other stuff so I don't have to, talk at the end because my voice ends up tapping out after an hour. I don't know why. I probably need to drink some tea with some honey. But anyway, the stuff that I have outside of HBCU sports, I have this wonderful music podcast called On the Groove Line. I talk about all things old school R&B, hip hop, funk, jazz, EDM, disco, you name it. Black people recording it and singing it. I talk about it. And I recently have had a string of wonderful guests. This week I had Bernard Jackson from the group Surface. Y'all remember Surface? Only you can make me happy. Yeah, that's Surface. So Bernard talked to me for a good 45 minutes. We had a wonderful time. If you want to check that out, you can click the link right here. It is youtube.com/on the groove line. I am closing in on 500 subs. So if you guys want to help me out in that process, you are more than welcome to do so. Also, I have an after hours podcast called The Overnight Scenario, where I talk about all things dating and romance and stuff that shouldn't be talked about while the sun is still out. If you would like to support me there, I have a Patreon. That is, this is the link that you can follow that. It is $1 a month to subscribe. Not only do I have a exclusive podcast, I also write novels and poetry and all of that stuff. You can check that stuff out at my Patreon for the neat and tidy sum of $1 a month. Okay, so now that we've gotten all the promotional activities out of the way, yes, indeed, it is. Shout out to Stephen Campbell. It is indeed Celebration Bowl week here in the Black College football sphere, and we've got a dandy matchup. I mean, it may not be the one that everybody wanted, but it's still a pretty good one. And we're talking about MEAC champion South Carolina State. Shout out to Zach McKinnon as well. It's time for the HBCU National Championship. It really has been a great season. It really has. I think what people are going to miss about this matchup, if they just look at, oh, it's Prairie View versus South Carolina State. Oh, Jackson State isn't in it. Oh, Florida A&M isn't in it. Oh, Grambling isn't. Oh, North Carolina Central isn't in it. Oh, if you're so hung up on who's not in it, then you're missing out on who is in it. And this is going to be a great matchup. Let's start for the record by saying this is the first time ever that South Carolina State and Prairie View are going to meet on the football field. And that to me, I don't know if I want to call it a shock. I don't know if I want to call it a shock, but I just find it surprising that those two programs have never met on the football field. But they always say there's a first time for everything, and this is the first time for it. We got South Carolina State repping the MEAC at 9-3 and 5-0 overall against Prairie View, who is 10-3, went 5-0 in the SWAC West, and defeated Jackson State 23-21 in the SWAC championship game this past weekend. So let's see. Shout out to Silas Edward McMorris. I've been telling, me and Silas have been saying, man, don't look past Prairie View. Do not look past Prairie View. And lo and behold, they did it. They did it, man. Shout out to South Crack, go Dogs. I have the utmost respect for that program in Chennisberry. Like, I don't know how long. I mean, like I said, I just don't know how long he's going to stay there, because I feel like both of these guys, Chennisberry and Tremaine Jackson, are going to get that call at some point from somebody, be it a high level FCS or a mid major FBS. Somebody's calling both of those guys, so we better enjoy them while we got them. Soldier Rag says Texas and South Carolina is a long bus ride. Yeah. You'd probably have to have a meet in the middle in a classic in some sort of event, honestly, I would have liked them to meet in something like the Southern Heritage or the MEAC SWAC Challenge, but I think it is good that this is the first time these two are meeting, because now ESPN has to really do some legwork in promoting this game. The last few years, it's been so easy because you've had A&T, you've had Central, you've had Jackson State, you've had Florida A&M, you've had Grambling, you've had Alcorn, you've had a lot of great HBCU name brand programs in this game. And not saying South Carolina State isn't a name brand, not saying Prairie View isn't a name brand, but it's not the one that people immediately think of when they think of Black college football. And that's going to be the challenge of ESPN. Can we, promote these schools the way they need to be promoted? And for starters, you don't have to mention that Prairie View had one of the longest losing streaks in college football. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's not really necessary because they've been decent the last 10 or 15 years. But this is the first time they've made it to the Celebration Bowl. And Tremaine Jackson did it in 1 year. I think I've told this story before, but I do have a funny story about the Prairie View losing streak. My senior year of high school, 1998-99, my guidance counselor in high school, my senior guidance counselor, was a Prairie View alumna. And she was embarrassed. Like, she had her degrees up, because you have to have your degrees up if you're working in a school. I think that's like mandatory no matter where you are. So she had her degrees up. And in the middle of that season, Prairie View snapped that 80-game losing streak. That Monday, my guidance counselor's entire office was purple and gold, Jack. I mean, she had pom-poms, pennants, wearing this sweater. She was having the time of her life. And I loved that for her. So, but Prairie View has had some decent football programs in the past. I mean, it's not like they've just been, the saddest program to ever exist. I mean, it was just that 1 8 or 9 year period where it was like, damn, why are they going through this? But, college football ebbs and flows. Everything goes full circle at some point. And Prairie View, to me, is the best story in Black college football. And this is coming from a dude who loved everything that happened with his alma mater this year. I mean, if you had to make me pick, I would still say, Hornet Heart of Hornet Hearts, what Delaware State was able to do this year was phenomenal, because for the last 12 or 13 years, we stunk. Just what do the kids do these days? That's been Delaware State football since Barack Obama's second term. And somehow Deshaun Jackson got these guys 8 wins and expectations of a MEAC championship in 2026. But Prairie View, what Tremaine Jackson did in 1 year, especially considering that they had won the SWAC West in 2020, was it 2023? Yeah, it was 2023. Sorry. Nose running a little bit. It's cold in my house. I refuse to turn the heat on right now. That's why I got a hoodie on. But anyway, they won the SWAC West under Bubba McDowell. And then, they fell out in 2024, and then they just told Bubba he had to leave, which I found to be strange. But they knew they wanted who they wanted, and they got their guy. And Tremaine Jackson has just been absolutely tremendous. Like, people were like, oh, he's been good for his first year. Oh, he talks too much. Oh, he's not going to be able to win the SWAC championship game. A funny thing happened on the way to Jackson State repeating as SWAC champions, or three-peating. Prairie View. They showed up and played a real good football game. And I know people are going to say Jacoby and Morgan got hurt again. Fair. Fair is fair. But at the same time, football is not solely reliant on one player. Why do you think they have 100 teams, 100 players on a roster? You got to have everybody working in tandem. You got to have everybody on the same page. You got to have everybody reading out of the same book at least. And I'm just not going to sit here and say that Jacoby Morgan getting hurt is the reason that Jackson State lost. Prairie View was the reason that Jackson State lost. They were a really good football team, and they went out there and proved it. So, I mean, I just don't buy into the fact that, Jackson State owns the SWAC. And I know a lot of Jackson State folks, y'all are some highly sensitive people. For as much as y'all bring to the space, as much history and tradition as y'all have, y'all are sensitive, buddy. Like, you can't say a damn thing negative or critical about Jackson State. Like, it is so mind-boggling. It's case in point. We ran the story about how Jackson State saying that they were outplayed on Saturday, and in our Facebook comments, somebody said, how was Jackson State outcoached? See, HBCU with sports with their negative headlines. Outcoached was nowhere in the headline. It was outplayed. I know Jackson State taught you how to read, buddy. I know they did. Or you probably had to learn how to read before you got into Jackson State. But outcoached was not in the headline. It wasn't. So the sense of, oh my God. And I'm not one of those people who, runs down on HBCU alums just for the sake of running down on HBCU alums. Because in our space, we talk trash. It's what we do all day long. All day long. But I feel like there are some fan bases who just absolutely take it too far. Too far. And most of them are in the SWAC. I'll just keep it a buck. Some of y'all SWAC people get real nasty. And I think some of y'all have realized that not everybody has to engage in the nastiness in a way that cowers. Like, some people will actually put hands on you. Not saying I'm one of those people. I just walk away from you and leave you looking stupid. But there are some people who will absolutely reach out across the aisle in a Democratic and Republican way. So y'all just need to watch what y'all be saying to people. That's just my personal opinion. Because I've seen some really gross personal things said about people from different schools on Twitter, and it's like, y'all ain't been in street fights before. Because some of the things y'all be saying to people absolutely will get your teeth knocked down your throat. At least that's where I come from. Shouts out to, being raised about 35 minutes south of Philly. Just, some of y'all need to watch your mouths. Then I'm going to leave it at that. Back to the game, though. This is going to be a good one. There's, as Zach McKinnell with a great point. Anyone who says that is making excuses. PV dominated the line of scrimmage. Jacobian wouldn't have helped that. Yeah. Prairie View, they looked like a SWAC championship team throughout the season. The only game they lost in the SWAC was to Alabama State. And Alabama State, that probably hurts them to the core. That's why people are just like, oh, wow, should the SWAC go away from a championship game? Prairie View ain't trying to hear that. They won their division. Jackson State won their division. You win your division, you play for the championship. That's how this works. And I'm quite sure that Jackson State, the players, the coaches staff were like, well, we had our shot. We blew it. We just got to come back next year stronger. Stephen Campbell with a great point. Social media is not real life. Do not let these people be the measurement of true fan bases. It's the same 20 people that keep up that sugar honey iced tea. Yeah. I see it. I see it, but it's just like, I mean, probably because I'm a person who has worked through anger management in my life. Y'all probably think, wow, Chris Stevens gets mad. Hell yeah. I'm just better about it now because it's just easier for me to just walk away. But there have been times when people have said stuff to me, and I'm just like, if I could just reach across and but now it's like, it's almost like y'all might not remember that episode of Family Matters where Carl was dealing with high blood pressure and he went to the doctor and did everything but what the doctor told him. He found this poetry book on the table and he started saying the doctor just told him to say this poem and his blood pressure will come down. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? That's the kind of stuff that you kind of have to sort of enact. You have to sort of count to 10 with certain folks because people will push your buttons. But anyway, again, as Soldier Act said, as said before the game, how Jackson State was going to react the game, punching them out first. Prairie View kept counterpunching the whole game. Yeah, Prairie View looked like they were there to win a football game. Not saying Jackson State wasn't, but Prairie View was absolutely there to win a football game. And again, Tremaine Jackson, if he does this in 1 year from, they weren't worse. They were obviously not worse because they were ahead of Pine Bluff last year. But they went from near the bottom of the cellar in the SWAC West to SWAC champions. And if they win the Celebration Bowl, his phone. Yeah, can we talk to, is this Tremaine Jackson's agent? Yeah, this is Conference USA School X. This is SoCon School B. This is Mac School X. We got about $1 million if he wants, about 2 or 3 million actually, if he wants to make that move. He can have all the access, all the resources, all of this, all of that. What do you say? That call is coming if he hasn't gotten it already. And the same goes for if Chennis Berry wins this game, his line is going to be busy too. Okay, Zach McKinnell would have, and Zach McKinnell, he does some great work in the FCS space. You might want to check him out. Mercer just opened to that. Might try to bring Tremaine back to Georgia. That's a possibility. So, but if Chennis Berry wins this one, his line's going to be busy too. That's, again, I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned that Southern wasn't considering Chennis Berry, or maybe Chennis Berry said, "I ain't leaving for that dumpster fire." That possibly could have been it too. But I'm really surprised, and everybody's like, "Well, he hasn't won a big game yet because Benedict hadn't won a Division II playoff game." South Carolina State lost the Celebration Bowl last year. But here's the important thing: South Carolina State did not have a healthy quarterback last year. Eric Phoenix did something to his leg in the Morgan State game. It was never right again after that. They got Billy Atkins this year. And Billy Atkins, he may not be as fast as Eric Phoenix, but he's built like a tank. He has a strong arm. And only thing is, he just needs to stop celebrating before he gets to the end zone. Those of you who remember the North Carolina Central game, wow. I know Coach Berry read him and those other folks to riot act, baby. I know they got into that locker room after that game, boy. They told him some things because I did not understand what Billy was doing on that run. But it ended up not hurting South Carolina State because, of course, they ended up winning the game. But other than that, Billy Atkins has been the most impressive transfer to come into the MEAC this year, other than Caden Bennett. Which reminds me, before we get back to this game, we have not discussed the MEAC all-conference team, so let's do that now. And this is your first team offense. And if you guys were wondering why the MEAC didn't announce a player of the year for offense and defense, because they did it at an award show in Vegas the other night. So here's your first team MEAC offense: Walker Harris, the quarterback; Marquise Gillis and James Jones, each a running back from DSU; Chauncey Spikes, wide receiver, North Carolina Central; Luke Bracey, tight end from Central; Jordan Smith, graduate wide receiver from South Carolina State; and Justice Johnson is on this list twice for Delaware State because he played 2 different positions on the offensive line. He was a starting center and a starting guard. He rotated, which was very rare, very impressive. Isaiah Cook as well, Roger Smith, Big Raj. I hope he gets a draft look. And Trayvon Humphrey from North Carolina Central on the first team. And first team defense, Michael Lunds, Thomas Johnson, who was with the anchored at North Carolina Central defense, Blanche Gold from Morgan State, Noah Miles make up the defensive line. Eric Hunter, no surprise there. Brian Bates, one of the biggest surprises. He came out of nowhere to become one of the leading tacklers in the country. Jordan Franklin, Jared Washington, who won Defensive Player of the Year. Jelani Vassell, Kedra Green, Tamondre Braxton, Brandon Bowman, Caleb Robinson, all make up the first team on special teams and defense. Second team is where you find Billy Atkins, Chris Mosley, Anthony Reagan Jr., Chance Peterson. And this young man's name is Nige Lolly. It's not Jolly, it's Lolly. Because I know him. I know his peoples. I know the Lolly peoples. His last name is Lolly, not Jolly. It's Nige Lolly. For God's sakes. Anyway, Justin Perry, wide receiver. Cyrus Ellison at tight end. James Reddick at center. AC Moore, Chevy Trash Jr., Jaquan Sprinkle, Moses Umorin. That makes up your second team offensive line. Defensively, you got Josh Barker on the second team, Donquarius Porter, David Ojegby. Yes. Lance Benden, Tariq Miles, Max Urin, Isaiah Lawson, Jaden Carter, Hiroshi Carr, Zuri Watson, Wayne Favors III, Elliot Janish, Liam Allen IV. Wow, it's a tie at punter. Who knew? And Nico Cavanilis Alti. And that is your all MEAC football team for 2025. Now, my personal opinion is I don't have a problem with the teams. I will say that Billy Atkins actually came on stronger once Chennis Berry and them named him the quarterback because he was splitting reps with Brian Stubblefield at first. Walker Harris was unquestionably North Carolina Central's QB1 and played like it all year long. He deserved that award. But I think Billy Atkins really made a case for himself down the stretch when they needed him the most. And he really played a strong game against Delaware State. I came away super impressed with that young man. I was like, damn, why wasn't James Madison playing him? But unfortunately for us, James Madison didn't play him because he went to South Carolina State and went to Dover and took care of business. Shouts out to Lawrence. Thank you for the $5 donation. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Delaware State men's basketball team beat the University of Delaware in the Route 1 rivalry, 75-72 last Saturday. We'll talk more about some basketball later, but we got to talk. I had to say that. Shouts out to Stan Waterman and those Hornets, man. Great job. Lawrence asked, do you think the MEAC should move its football awards to Atlanta? No, I don't. And Mr. 32K, fellow Hornet, checking in, says most MEAC institutions are above the Carolinas, so why did they do ATL? Yeah, I think, and that's the hard part. That is the hard part. Because the MEAC, when you think mid-eastern part of the country, you're thinking solely like Virginia, Maryland, DC, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, for the most part. So, but you have North Carolina Central, you have South Carolina State. And that's as far south as it goes, but it's still a considerable distance south if you're coming from Delaware. That's for sure. So it's going to be hard to, move this thing and make this conference. I mean, to be fair, is any conference really geographically correct anymore? When you have Stanford in the ACC, you have Washington in the Big Ten, you have Oklahoma in the Southeastern Conference. Does it really matter anymore geographically? Well, it matters geographically because those schools can afford it. Our schools cannot. That's why Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, that was the main reason they both left, because it was just easier travel-wise for them to go west instead of going north all the time. So that's probably why. So, the MEAC, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, really. Doesn't matter what they do until they figure it out an expansion plan. Alonzo Barrett was the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year. Fair enough. So, he just couldn't get off the bench. But why couldn't he go to Grambling or something, or Florida A&M? Why do you have to go to South Carolina State? Oh man. But that's Chennis Berry for you. He's gonna get some dudes. He's gonna bring his own dudes too. Jared Washington, the MEAC Defensive Player of the Year, started with him at Benedict. And I remember his first year, I asked Coach Berry, you heard all the stuff about, Division II guys moving up to Division I. He said, it's football, man. And to his credit, all that team has done has played football from start to finish. Absolutely, he's just played football from start to finish. And as far as this game goes, as Zach noted, this is going to be trench warfare. This is going to be your big dogs against my big dogs. Okay, who's going to push who around on both sides of the ball? That is going to be the determining factor in this football game, because I like both quarterbacks. I like Cam Peters from Prairie View. I like Billy Atkins from South Carolina State. They both have great running backs. They both have solid receivers. This is going to be either a 45-38 kind of game, or it's going to be a 17-14 type of game. Either way, it's going to be super competitive, and very much looking forward to that. Shouts out to Aggie 76 checking in. Alonzo Barnett is the son of North Carolina A&T Hall of Famer Al Barnett. Damn, we be losing our kids, man. We really lose our kids to PWIs, man. But I get it. I mean, maybe Alonzo wanted to, chart his own path. No, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's probably what any parent will tell you, that they want what's better for their kids than what they had, even though they hold their alma maters near and dear. Like, case in point, a local colleague of mine. Well, I mean, we're reasonably cool. I mean, we don't know each other well enough to be friends or whatever, but we are cordial. We're cool with each other. He graduated from Dell State. His daughter was State Basketball Player of the Year, and he was like, as much as I want to send her to Delaware State, I can't right now until they upgrade some stuff on the basketball front. And I said, you know what? That's fair. Because his daughter was probably, a mid-major player anyway. Because I watched her play all 4 years, and she was the real deal. She's at Siena now. I hope she's finding her foot. And, she went to UMass at first, but the UMass situation was so raggedy, she had to get out of there. So, but, a lot of guys, a lot of kids, guys and girls may not want to follow in their parents' footsteps at HBCUs, but I still think at least we should try to get our kids to understand the value of HBCUs, not just from an athletic standpoint, but from an academic and a social standpoint. Because you're going to have all your life to be around other people. But being around your people for 4 years while you get to be young, energetic, do some foolish stuff, because in college we all did some foolish things. Like, I can't tell you the amount of dummy missions I went on in undergrad, especially once I got a car. And this is back in the days when Black Planet was popping. Black Planet was the most elite social dating app back in the early 2000s. I will die on that hill. Like, Black Planet was like, if you couldn't put up numbers there, you just need to get out of the game. But I'm sorry. But the point is, being around your people at that stage in your life is better than being around other people who are not like you. Whether it comes to skin tone, whether it comes to ethnicity, whether it talks to socializing, being around your people matters, especially at that developmental stage of your life. So I would just really hope that we as HBCU alums and, God, I hate this word, stakeholders, really impress upon these young kids that HBCUs deserve your attention. Because you got all your life to be around white people. You got all your life to be around Asian people, Latinos, Eastern Indians, indigenous folk. You got all your life to be around everybody else. You should enjoy being around your people for as long as you can. That's my take on the matter. See, Mr. 32K know what I'm talking about. Man, you had to be there. You had to be there in the early 2000s. Boy, I tell you what. Just again, I have this podcast where I talk about things like dating and such, the overnight scenario. I think I'm probably going to talk about Black Planet on there one of these days. If y'all want to go ahead and check that out, it is $1 a month to subscribe. So I just want to go ahead and, put that out there so I can stop talking about dating apps and different things while I'm on HBCU Sports Business. uh, you know, oh, see, G Boom knows. G Boom knows as well. BP helped me out after my divorce. See, man, I'm telling you, man, Black Planet, what a time to be alive. That being said, I do want to talk about something else I want to talk about something basketball real quick. And I'm going to show you guys a picture. You ready? Okay. Now, I'm going to leave this picture up on the screen. And I want you guys to tell me what stands out about this particular photograph. I know you got, for those of you who have this the gift of sight, I'm sure you're seeing a gentleman going up for a shot, and you're going to see a gentleman to his left. Now I want you to tell me what stands out about this picture. Give up? That was not called a foul. That was not called a foul. And that cost Norfolk State a game at James Madison last weekend. They lost that game 68-67. Keontae Lewis was going up for the shot, and Bradley Douglas just get to the chopper. Chopped him. No foul call. And Robert Jones was not happy. He posted on social media, he said, good things and bad things happen during the game, but geesh. And that's all we can say is when you see that. Because we posted that story to our Facebook page, and someone said, you can't expect that foul call on the road. Well, when can you expect it? Because that's a foul. I don't care if it's on the road. I don't care if it's at home. I don't care if it's in Timbuktu. That's a foul. Every time. Every time, that is a foul. Let's pull this picture up again. For those of you who stepped away to get a beverage, shouts out to Kenny Mayne. That's one of my favorite Kenny Mayne-isms. We're going to show you again in case you stepped away to get a beverage. That is a foul. He is not making a play on the ball. He is not jumping up. He just reached in with his arm and whacked the kid on the arm. It's hard to call a guy a kid when he has a fuller beard than I do. Jeez Louise. But he's a kid regardless. That's a foul. I don't care. I don't care. That is a foul. Not 10 times out of 10. Aggie 76 says the ref played for the Knicks and the Pistons back in the 90s. No foul. Oh boy, man. Being a young kid watching that level of basketball back then, when the Pistons were just beating the crap out of everybody and then the Knicks adopted that style, it was weird because people always seem to remember. People always complain now that basketball is too high scoring. People seem to forget that there was a period from like 1993 to about the end of the 99 lockout year. You probably go to like 2000, 2001, where NBA games were absolutely 85 to 80 type of games. Or even, I believe the Sixers won a playoff game one year. They beat Orlando in the first round of 99, 79-68. I will never forget that. And I'm like, are we sure this is basketball? Yeah. But yeah, that level of basketball is just like, hacking and, it's hard to watch. I prefer the style of basketball now, because it's more spaced out. Edwin Moore said, I was shocked when Pat Riley took a totally different game to the Knicks than he ran with the Showtime Lakers. Oh, yeah. I think probably because he didn't have the horses. Back when you think about Pat Riley and the Lakers in the 80s, you had Greyhounds. You had Magic Johnson, a 6'9" point guard. No one had ever seen a 6'9" point guard before. You had James Worthy, one of the fastest forwards in the game. You get him out on the break, it's a short 2 points. You had Byron Scott, one of the first small great dunkers of any era. You get Byron Scott out there in the open floor, cover your head. You had Michael Cooper, who, before he became a three-point shooter and defensive specialist, he was the alley-oop guy. Laker fans will remember the Koopaloop. I know Ken Rashad's an old school Laker fan. He remembers the Koopaloop. So, but when Pat Riley got to the Lakers, yeah, Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing wasn't running up and down the floor like that. Nor did he have a sky hook like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Patrick had a wonderful jump shot, though. His jumper is one of the best jumpers I've seen on the 7-footer ever. So, but yeah, that's a foul. I don't care what it is. That is a foul. And I think it's frustrating because you don't want to look at it as a racial issue because there were 2 black kids on the play, but the one black kid is playing for a PWI, and the other black kid who was victimized we'll call it victimized. The black kid who was victimized by the non-call play for an HBCU. So maybe some referees' perceptions of HBCU basketball and football in general are skewered a little bit. I mean, but even if that was VCU versus James Madison, that is a foul every single time. Call it even. Call the game fair. That's all any of us ask. Just be fair in how you call the game. That's really all it boils down to. So, yeah. So let me get y'all's Celebration Bowl picks before I get ready to get up out of here, because there is something I want to talk about as a closing topic. There's 2 things I want to talk about as a closing topic before I get out of here. But who do you guys have in the Celebration Bowl? And you're not under any pressure because this is a MEAC show. If you think Prairie View is going to win it, say so. If you think South Carolina State is going to win it, say so. Ain't nothing I can do to you. I mean, ain't like I'm gonna reach the stream like, how dare you not pick the MEAC, you son of a. I miss Vince. I mean, Vince McMahon is a creepy son of a gun, but I miss the way he used to say, "You son of a." Like Vince used to wild out on TV, but Vince McMahon was wilding out off of TV as well. So, I digress. But yeah, okay. So we got people bringing their picks in. Lawrence has Prairie View. South Crack 24 says Dogs by 3, South Carolina State. Chris Williams says Prairie View. G Boom says Prairie View. Damn, Soldier Rag, sell out. No, I'm playing. He said, as an Aggie and a MEAC baby, I'm still going for Prairie View. Well, I mean, of course, A&T is going to root against South Carolina State. What else is new? Lawrence Q79 says Prairie View. Edwin Moore says, it's hard for me to pick against Barry, who's been there already, but I always pick my conference representative in the season-ending bowl, thus Panthers. And of course, Silas is going with his Panthers all day long. So it looks like we got a pretty heavy Prairie View contingent. We're probably going to have that all week long because, again, Prairie View is probably, if you take away what Deshaun Jackson did at Delaware State, but you can't take away what Deshaun Jackson did at Delaware State, because what Deshaun Jackson did at Delaware State was phenomenal. But anyway, if you take that away, what Tremaine Jackson was able to do in one season at Prairie View is undeniable. And it would not surprise me if he completed the whole thing in 1 year. Then that leads me to wonder again, how much longer is he going to be there? Because if he completes the trifecta in his first year, what else is there left for him to do? I know he did say he wanted Prairie View to be a top national program. So does that mean he's going to angle for Prairie View to get in the FCS playoffs? Very curious to know what that means. Would love to know Coach Jackson's thoughts on that. But yes. All right, we got some more picks coming in. WWMAC has Prairie View. Aggies 76 has South Carolina State. Blue Jay, of course, Bulldogs. He's going to root for his dogs. South Carolina State, go Dogs. I know we ready. MEAC 7-3 in the 10 Carolina celebration. Yeah. Has there been I just remembered. Howard is the only team outside of North Carolina to represent the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl. Norfolk State, Morgan State, Delaware State, we got some work to do, man. We absolutely got some work to do. Ossie Clark says Prairie View. P. Will's Yacht Show. You selling boats, bro? I mean, I can't afford none. I'm just saying, you're selling boats. But yeah, anyway, he's picking Prairie View. So yeah, looks like it's a majority for Prairie View. I'm very interested to see how that game goes. But I'm gonna give you my pick. And as much as I love what Tremaine Jackson has done this year, what that Prairie View squad has done this year, I think this South Carolina State team is healthier, they're hungrier, and they know what getting embarrassed in Atlanta last year felt like. So I'm going, yeah, Adam, thank you. Adam stole my numbers, but this is what I'm going with. 24-21 South Carolina State. That's what I'm going with. Mr. 32K also going with South Carolina State. So it's still very much a Prairie View heavy pick on this show, but for me, I'm going with South Carolina State 24-21. I think they pull it off this year. I think Chennis Berry gets that big win that people say he has to have, and then once he has it, people won't be able to say anything about him. You can say anything about him before, but he wins the Celebration Bowl. He's absolutely undeniable. So there's two things I wanted to talk about before I get up out of here, and this was news that was broken by Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports yesterday, that the University of Utah, is entering a $500 million private equity agreement for this private equity group to sponsor Utes athletics. Now, as we always talk about, the importance of money, having money or not having money from an academic and athletic standpoint, I hope people understand that this is the end of amateur athletics as we know it. Please understand that if you can put $500 million on the table and a state university can sell out that way, there's no hope for the rest of us. There's no hope. Because the people who are in charge of these private equity firms, they don't give a about anybody that is outside of their norm. We've seen how quickly DEI just, became the most negative thing in the world. And it just literally, just hurt people to the core to have to share space with Black people, with women, with LGBTQ folks, with Latinos, indigenous folk, Asians, Eastern Indians. Like, imagine if you could just throw around your money and say, I want this school or this conference to be successful, and I don't give a crap about anybody else. That's too much money. That's too much power. And I hope that everybody, not just HBCUs, but mid-majors and lower-level PWIs are watching, buddy. I hope you're watching. Because $500 million for one athletic program, that's not good. That's all bad. And I hope, let's see. Shouts out to Darielle for checking in. Every time they underestimate South Carolina State, they show up. That's true. That's true. So, and thank you for the super chat. So we have 2 super chats. Can we get another 1 or 2 before I get up out of here today? Chris Williams says, wait, Coach Jackson wins the first year, TC Town in the second year, but Coach Sanders couldn't win the Celebration Bowl with all that talent. Let you know you still got to coach up good players. Good point. Mr. 32K says, didn't private equity almost screw up Red Lobster? Yeah, it did. And they had to go get a brother to straighten it out. There's a brother running Red Lobster right now. Red Lobster is close to getting back in the black, if they ain't back in the black already. So yeah, private equity ain't the strongest thing. And Soldier Rag also brings up a good point. Do these people know that college athletics are not supposed to generate profit? Oh, those days are gone, buddy. Those days are gone. They're absolutely trying to generate profit. Hands down. The money talks, and we all know what walks. So, yeah, amateur athletics, Undertaker. Sorry if I scared you guys. Y'all didn't know I could roll my eyes on the back of my head like that. I've been practicing that like the Undertaker for God knows how long. Yeah, everybody thought Jackson State was just going to run over that Buddy Pugh team, and Buddy Pugh ended up running over Deion Sanders. Oof. And Yeah, here you go. Here you go. I don't know if he did. I would hope he didn't. Because if he was going to go somewhere, I would prefer he would go somewhere where he's not going to be hamstrung by some board of regents or whatever. Delaware State has a board of trustees, but they literally let the athletic department run itself. He wasn't going to have that luxury at Southern. So that's probably why he's still at Delaware State, because he can still call the shots as he sees fit. So if he interviewed for the Southern job, I hope it was just like, just to put his name out there. But I hope he didn't take it seriously. What has private equity improved? I have no idea. I have no idea. I have zero idea. Chris Williams said mid-majors need to be watched because they're having a fit. Notre Dame was left out of playoffs, and others for Tulane and James Madison. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. These Power Four, these Group of Four football programs, throwing a temper tantrum, stomping around, tossing their toys all over the room, saying, "We won't play in a bowl game. We want to play in the playoffs." People are going to freak out about those temper tantrums and start giving those teams, Notre Dame obviously could be bought and paid for. Like, if there was a dude with $1 billion that said, fighting Irish, we going all the way to the top in every sport, they would do it. So yes, let's be clear about that. Let's be very clear about that. This new private equity thing in college sports is bad, and it's bad for lower level schools. It is the death of the NCAA. It is the death of amateur athletics, and I hope we're ready for whatever, and we need to have a say in what is going to be next, because the NCAA is absolutely about to collapse. Make no mistake about it. It's like teetering as we speak. G-Boom said the Big 12 find their schools that opted out, which is cool. But if you got somebody that says, I'll pay the fine for you, it ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter. Zach McKinnell said all these fake G5 teams that moved up because they wanted a chance at this college football playoff payout are going to be sick when the Power Four locks all. Yeah. I'm telling y'all, man, we are closer to a Group of Four football league, or even the only thing that's keeping the NCAA together right now, believe it or not, is basketball, because that basketball payout helps everybody. But football is a whole different beast all to itself. But it wouldn't surprise me if that Group of Four said, let's just start a football league and leave these other bleeps behind. Absolutely wouldn't surprise me if that happened. But yes, for our schools, we need to be paying close attention, because we were never going to be able to compete at that level anyway. But now with the money being what it is, we're definitely not going to compete. We need to focus on what our strengths are, educating young Black kids, giving them an experience they can remember. And if we have good sports programs, that's fine too. But let's be clear about that. This money is just beyond us. It was never going to be a part of our reality. And hopefully we can accept that now. Because there's not one person alive, unfortunately, that's going to put $500 million into Black college athletics. Not one person. Lee Human said, I'm just here to hear how bad South Carolina State, SCSU going to beat the taste out of Prairie View A&M's mouth. Well, we discussed that game, and I don't think, there's a lot of Prairie View sentiment in the chat. I picked South Carolina State, but I don't think they're going to beat the taste out of Prairie View's mouth. I think it's going to be a really good game. And G-Boom said that basketball payout is why there should not be an HBCU super conference. Yeah. The MEAC and SWAC both need that money, even though the SWAC is doing a lot better than the MEAC at this particular point in time. But both conferences need that payout. Make no mistake about it. Zach McKinnell said, welcome back to FCS, Sam Houston, Kennesaw, UMass, Jacksonville State, and Louisiana Monroe. I didn't even know Louisiana Monroe had moved up. Yeah, they need to come on back. Kennesaw, I don't know. Well, actually, Kennesaw probably might, because I guarantee you, Jerry Mack is absolutely going to be up for some jobs. Matter of fact, former Jackson State wide receiver and North Carolina Central football coach Jerry Mack, by the way. If you come from an if you can do it at an HBCU, you can do it anywhere. And I wish people remember that. Hell, Willie Simmons has Florida International in a bowl game. Florida International. When was the last time Florida International was good enough to be in a bowl game? Shout out Willie Simmons. Shotgun Simmons. EA says, I disagree. HBCUs should invest in basketball. This is where we can compete. I think it's easier to compete in basketball because you only need 10 or 12 kids, whereas football, you need 100. But the 10 or 12 kids that go to group of fives, like, for example, there's a young man from my hometown in Wilmington, Delaware. You may have heard of his name because he made some headlines last night with a off-color camera interview. Robert Wright III plays for BYU. Robert Wright III had $1 million NIL transfer to go from Baylor to BYU. We can't pay kids millions of dollars to play basketball. I don't even think we can pay kids thousands of dollars to play basketball at HBCUs at this point. So it's hard. It's absolutely hard. And I hope people are ready for the reality that the NCAA is about to disappear. Absolutely about to disappear. P. Will's Yacht Show says it's going to be a group of two. SEC and the Big Ten are going to start their own league in 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I see that coming. Absolutely see that coming. Absolutely see that coming. So hopefully, yeah. I went to Mr. 32K. I'm going to tell you some Chris Stevens lore. I went to school with Robert Wright II and Justin Wright. We both, all three of us, for a period of time, went to St. Peter's up on the hill on 4th Street in Wilmington, Delaware. I left to go to public school. So, yeah, I left to go to Bancroft in 4th grade, but for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, Robert Wright II and I were classmates. And Justin was like a year or two behind us. So, yes, that Wright family. But, yeah, Robert Wright III, he's him. He's him. So, but he had an awkward moment on camera last night after that game-winning shot. He said, I'm that, you can fill in the blank. And his teammates were all like, oh, and the reporter was like, did he really just say that? But Rob's a super young man. He was just caught up in the moment. I'm not going to judge him for that. But the point is, he got $1 million to go from Baylor to BYU. HBCUs ain't got $1 million per athlete for basketball or any sport for that matter. The money is just not feasible for us. And anytime you got somebody saying, we're willing to put $500 million on Utah's athletics, close the book. Game's over. It's unfortunate, but we really have to start figuring out what our schools are going to do next in the event that the NCAA, collapses upon itself, because that day is coming sooner rather than later. And the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight, if you guys are at home, if you have ESPN, and if you have YouTube TV, hope you don't have TB. Tuberculosis, that's not something you want to have. But if you have YouTube TV and ESPN, be sure to watch the Stuart Scott 30 for 30 tonight. Because I'm going to have tissues. Where's my tissues? Oh, I don't have them yet. I don't have them ready yet. That means I need to go get some tissues. But I'm going to be at the screen boo-hooing. Because the reason I am in sports journalism today is Stuart Scott. I got up every morning for school, before school, to watch Stuart Scott on SportsCenter. And he was just so damn, what Bruce used to say, he is so damn cool. Stu was just the coolest of the cool, man. Like, he was just authentically himself, and he could still, and that was important for young people like myself who love sports and, love to talk about sports in a certain way. Like, we didn't have to be all stuffy and say, this school won this game by this amount of points. Now we turn to my colleague who's going to tell you about the weather. Stu, man, he literally opened up a lane for Black people in sports journalism. He wasn't the first great Black sports journalist, don't get me wrong. For crying out loud, Sam Lacey, one of the great sports writers of our time, with the Baltimore Afro-American, folks like him. you know, James Brown, Irv Cross. Who else am I thinking about that came before Stu? The Brian and rest in peace, Greg Gumbel, the Gumbel family. Like, I mean, black people have been in sports journalism for a while, but Stu brought us into the future. Oh, I remember George from BET. Yeah, George Johnson was him, man. He was a great one as well. He was a great one as well. George Johnson was a great one for BET back in the day. I remember George Johnson. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. So George Johnson kind of sort of set the standard, but Stu was able to get it out there on ESPN. And maybe George probably deserves a lot more props for that, but Stu at the same time, for those of us of a certain age, he was like our guru for talking sports. And I think the only death that I've taken harder in the last 20 years other than Stuart Scott's is my grandmother's. That's it. Like I cried like a baby when Stu died. I'm not ashamed to say that. And I'll probably be boo-hooing tonight watching this 30 for 30 because Stu was just so very, you know, he was so essential to what sports journalism became in the interim. It's kind of bad now because again, we got Pat McAfee taking off his shirt every damn weekend. We got Stephen A. Smith, just being Stephen A. Smith. Oh, if you haven't seen Joy Reid take Stephen A. Smith to the woodshed on Kerry Champion's show, please, please go watch that clip because Joy Reid just absolutely, she put that man in the Cobra Clutch or the $1 Million Dream, depending on who your favorite wrestler is. If it's Sergeant Slaughter, Joy Reid has Stephen A. in the Cobra Clutch. If it's Ted DiBiase, she had him in $1 Million Dream. Prince hit me hard too. But my grandmother, that was different. My grandmother was different. And Stu, again, I wouldn't be here. A lot of black people in journalism, we have to say that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Stuart Scott. Absolutely. Those of us of a certain age. Those are like younger, like us millennials. We love Stu. And it's been 10 years since his passing. Again, the only other passer that hit harder than Stuart Scott's is my grandmother's. Because that dude just meant so much to me and so many other people who wanted to get into this profession. And that, we are standing on his and the shoulders of many other giants. So I'm going to be watching that Stu 30 for 30 tonight, have my tissues in hand, and hopefully you guys watch it as well. Are there two George Johnsons we're thinking about here? Because I remember George Johnson used to do a sports report for BET. Maybe he was working with BET and Home Team Sports. I'm not sure. Adam Spencer said I got to work with the late great Ron Pinkney in Hampton. That's a gentleman I need to learn more about. So yeah. Shouts out to M Ford for checking in. I didn't miss your message. I'll get with you on that in a second. Trust me, we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so I'm gonna be watching that Stu 30 for 30 tonight. Hopefully you all watch it as well. And Stu didn't go to an HBCU. He went to University of North Carolina. He was friendly with Michael Jordan. So tell you, how long ago that was. But Stu meant so much to a lot of people. And I'm glad they went ahead and did it before Trump and the FCC could rule against, doing things for black people in media. So I'm glad Stu is getting his 30 for 30 before we cross that bridge. But hopefully you guys watch it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this edition of the MEAC More. Greatly appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Want to thank Darielle and Lawrence for dropping those super chats. We greatly appreciate y'all. If you would like to donate again, go ahead, hit the Zelle app, type in donate at hbcusports.com, or you can go to Cash App, type the $ HBCU Sports, donate that way. You can also donate directly at our website, hbcusports.com/donate. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel, become a level 1 or a level 2 member. For the neat and tidy sum of $4.99 a month, you can get all the black college sports that's fit to print and broadcast, as we like to give it to you. Don't forget, we are all on all manners of social media. We are on the Musty app, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, you name it, we're there. Search for HBCU Sports. Tomorrow, let me answer Mr. 32K's question before I get up out of here. Because I just saw it. and I meant to answer it, but I don't know where it went. Okay, but I mean, he asked if we're doing a Celebration Bowl watch party. I think we are. Don't hold me to it yet because I still have to check in. But tomorrow, I think tomorrow Jared Hoffman is going to do a Better Than Less Than podcast. I think Friday we'll do a swag page, HBCU Sports Live. But if none of those shows pan out, if I have to do it solo, we'll do a we'll do a Celebration Bowl watch party Saturday. So thank you guys for tuning in to MEAC and More with Chris Stevens. That's me. Greatly appreciate y'all as always. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the show and all the ways you can get in contact with us. Nah, no ATL for us this year. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to it next year. But yeah, we are going to, we're going to cover this thing to the best of our ability. And with your help, we can get to Atlanta next year. So thank you guys for watching. Greatly appreciate y'all as always. And until the next time we talk, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. We gone.